My name is Michelle Wilder Rivers, and I work in graduate recruitment for the Center for Arts and Medicine. I'm so excited that you guys are here today. We are delighted to have you join us for this info session, talking about the path to practice. And today we're going to talk about our graduate programs at the U.S. Center for Arts and Medicine, and I'll be the moderator. I'm going to share some housekeeping reminders in the chat momentarily. I apologize, we're popping around a little bit. We'll get smoother in a minute. So you can check out those notes in the chat about closed captioning. Our webinar is being recorded today, and we encourage you to use the chat to share your reflections and resources. If you have questions for our panelists, the Q&A feature works like that. And we'll address as many as possible during the discussion. So good afternoon and welcome to Path to Practice, an info session on the University of Florida's Art and Medicine Combination Degree, Master of Arts, and Graduate Certificate. Today we have with us faculty guest Anna Carapellotti, Heather Spooner, and Director Ferol Carytsas. We are also joined today by MA candidate and current student Catherine W. Berk. Today we'll be talking about arts and health, the U.S. Center for Arts and Medicine, our graduate programs, including the MA, the Graduate Certificate, and the Combination Program. Then we'll be talking a little bit about career pathways in arts and health. We'll have our faculty director and our faculty are directed, and we'll have some student insight before we go to questions. So what is arts and health? And we have a little bit of a video to kind of start that off.
Did you know that the arts and creativity can offer comfort, relaxation, and joy even in the most difficult times? The field of arts and health is dedicated to using the power of the arts to enhance health and well-being in diverse institutional and community settings. Arts and health practices and programs take place in hospitals and clinical spaces as well as in communities. Let's begin by looking at arts and healthcare settings. Think of a time when someone you knew went to a hospital. Most likely, all their personal belongings were taken away from them and placed in a plastic bag. They were given a hospital gown to wear, assigned a medical record number, shown to a sterile room, and maybe even given a diagnosis. This experience can seem uninviting, make us feel isolated, and take away our self-identity. So, how might we create a hospital experience that keeps the creativity, individuality, and joy of a person intact? Artists trained to work in hospitals are called arts and health professionals. They bring visual arts, music, dance, theater, and writing into hospitals to enhance and support health and wellness. Arts and health professionals use their training, knowledge, and skills to ensure participant safety and program effectiveness. Arts and health professionals cultivate inspiration, build a sense of community, and help participants find purpose during their hospital experiences. In healthcare settings, arts and health professionals may engage a patient, their family members, or caregivers in an arts experience. They can bring visual art to the walls and halls of healthcare buildings, art making and music to a patient's bedside, a performance into a waiting room, and this type of arts engagement can help us remember the stories of who we are as whole people, not just patients. Arts and health professionals have the pure task of facilitating the creative process. To be clear, arts and health professionals are not clinicians, therapists, or counselors, and arts and health is different from the creative arts therapies and integrative therapies. Arts and health professionals are not trained therapists, so they do not seek to uncover and process past traumas or current difficulties, and they do not treat symptoms or provide mental or physical rehabilitation. Arts and health professionals work to make the experiences of patients, family members, and care providers in the hospital better. Now, let's take a look at arts and public health. Arts and public health programs are community-based and promote well-being, strengthen social connections, facilitate arts-based health messaging and communication, and enhance resiliency, therefore supporting healthier lifestyles and communities. When planning arts and health programs, arts and health professionals partner with public health professionals and other field experts. Each professional brings their area of trained expertise to the collaboration. These teams utilize the arts and leverage community arts and cultural resources to improve the lives of a group of people. They promote a culture of health, often working to address the root causes of health inequities like isolation, access to healthcare, and racism. Arts and health professionals working in public health might engage the community in creating murals to increase awareness of health conditions or social issues related to health, forming plays that can reduce stigma around certain health conditions like diabetes, or by forming community choirs to help reduce social isolation and loneliness. And, to clarify, arts and health professionals working in public health, like those working in healthcare, are not clinicians, counselors, or therapists. They do not directly treat trauma, mental, or physical conditions, but they might partner with those who do. And they can be key change makers who help support resilience, increase access to health services, and embed the arts into communities. So, in conclusion, arts and health practices and programs aim to promote health and wellness in healthcare and communities through using the arts.
All right. Thank you for bearing with us for a little technical difficulty then. So in this field, arts and health is sometimes referred to as arts and medicine, or arts and healthcare. So arts and health is an interdisciplinary field where the arts and health is an interdisciplinary field where the arts and creative engagement are used to support health, healing, and well-being in hospitals, communities, and public health settings. Arts and health brings together artists, culture bearers, healthcare professionals, community organizers, educators, and researchers to improve lives through creative expression. We're going to do a quick poll here and move back. So if Natalie's going to pop up that poll for us, do you identify with any of these sectors? I'll give it just a minute to pop in an answer there. See some things popping up. Awesome. Give you a last call. Anyone else want to give an answer? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going to take that down and we'll come back to our poll later and we'll talk a little bit about our way. Think about who our peers are participating. All right. So in practice, arts and health may look like artists in hospitals or clinics with patients and staff, or arts-based public health campaigns or storytelling initiatives. It might look like community arts organizations, arts programs to support mental health and reduce isolation, and research exploring the impact of art. UF Center for Arts and Medicine is centered on education, research, and practice at the intersection of art and health. It's a professional program designed to meet the needs of emerging and established professionals. The University of Florida Center for Arts and Medicine is committed to advancing education, research, policy, and practice at the intersections of arts and health locally and globally. The center's vision is that the integration of the arts, culture, and health is universally recognized as vital to the creation of healthy, connected, and harmonious communities globally. We collaborate heavily with our sister program, UF Health, Shands Arts and Medicine. UF Health Shands Arts and Medicine is one of the oldest hospital-based arts and healthcare programs in the country, and some of our faculty work with UF Health Shands Arts and Medicine. And each member provides their own unique experiences working as artists in residence. I want to introduce some of our great faculty because they really make the experience the wonder that it is. So we have Anna Carapellotti, who is a lecturer in the Center for Arts and Medicine. She teaches courses in both the Arts and Medicine online graduate program and the undergraduate Dance and Medicine certificate program. Her research concerns both dance and health and dance. Anna earned her PhD in psychology from Queen's University Belfast, is a Huron Scholar, and her BA in cognitive science at the University of Pennsylvania. Her doctoral dissertation evaluated the multidimensional impact of dancing with Parkinson's. A portion of her PhD research was conducted as a 2019 and 2020 Fulbright Scholar sponsored by the Netherlands American Foundation. With a background in classic ballet, Anna has additionally danced and staged many selections from the major classical repertoire. Anna, would you tell us a little bit about your research and what excites you about teaching?
Yeah, so in my research, I study the impact of community-based dance and health on health and well-being for a variety of target groups living with disabilities or chronic illness. I'm particularly interested in the intrinsic value of dance and how this value can be advocated for as well as captured in combination with other more objective and measurable outcomes. So what excites me most about teaching and working at CAM, I joined the Center for Arts and Medicine this past fall in August. And so it's been wonderful to work on a team of arts and health professionals and with students who are passionate about using the arts to promote health and well-being. With arts and health being such an interdisciplinary field, it's easy to find yourself in environments where the research and practice sort of sit on the periphery, whereas at CAM, arts and health is really central. And I think this supports the clarity and momentum that is possible for this kind of work.
Thank you, Anna. Heather Spooner is also on the panel with us today. Heather Spooner is an associate scholar with the Center for Arts and Medicine and faculty in the Center's graduate program. Heather is the clinical lead for telehealth and disaster response for the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine in support of Creative Forces, National Endowment for the Arts Military Healing Arts Network. She is a board certified art therapist who earned a BA in art with a minor in psychology from the University of Tampa and an MA in art therapy from Marywood University. She's part of the team that founded the Rural Veterans Tele-Rehabilitation Initiative Creative Arts Therapy Project and participate in partnership with UF, the North Florida South Georgia VA Health System, and the VA Office of Rural Health. She leads development of art therapy telehealth protocol and has research focused around the role of arts in disaster response. Heather has worked at the intersections of art therapy and arts and health throughout her career. And she's applied the arts to help with people of all ages in a variety of settings, including healthcare facilities, museums, community outreach, and veterans health. She previously taught art therapy at the University of Tampa and spearheaded the formation of Florida's Art and Health Network, Arts for Health Florida. Heather, will you tell us a little bit about your research and how you came to the field?
Sure. So my research right now is divided, as much my career has been, partially with art therapy and partially with arts and health. So on the art therapy side, the program that you were just mentioning really expanded to a lot of sites across the VA. And we've had the opportunity to delve more deeply into what it is about the art therapy that's really supporting veterans with their trauma. And so we're doing a couple of long-term studies talking about seeing veterans over the course of multiple years using the art therapy program that we developed as part of that partnership with UF years ago. And a lot of it's including things like brain imaging, which is really exciting. So I get to work with the staff here at the University of Florida and at the VA to try and explore some of those impacts. The initial results are really promising, which is exciting, but we'll see as that continues to grow. And then on the other side, we're doing the disaster work, which is really about arts and health. And so we're working with communities that have been impacted by disasters and exploring how the arts can help those communities prepare for disasters and recover from them. Oftentimes working with creative arts therapists when the communities might be places where maybe it wasn't arts and health professionals, but arts organizations or artists are being asked to do this work and perhaps not with the same kind of grounding they may have if they've gone through a formal program like this. And I think the other part of the question was just what we love about this work. And I think just the breadth of everything we're doing. I heard Anna mention interdisciplinarity. And I think that's one of the things that really excites me. Oftentimes when you have the same people in the room, they kind of think in similar ways. And I feel like both in the field and in our coursework and with our students, they come from such different backgrounds that I'm constantly inspired both to try things artistically that perhaps I hadn't thought of or tried in some time. And then also just to explore concepts and ideas in a really unique way. So that's probably one of my favorite aspects, both about teaching and about working at the center.
Awesome. And then I feel like you're a good person to ask. Is art therapy the same thing as arts and health, or how do they differ?
Yeah, so with art therapists or music or dance therapists, you're talking about professionals that have to go essentially to become a rehab or mental health professional. There's a board certification process, oftentimes licensure, depending on the state where you're at. And they're using the arts very directly to work towards a specific non artistic goal. So you may be using the art form to work through trauma or to work on things like mobility, and you're kind of pairing that intervention with what you're trying to achieve, which is a bit different than arts and health, where oftentimes people are getting all kinds of great benefits from doing the art. But the focus and what you're offering is kind of the arts experience itself, the ways that it brings joy and well being and inspires people and motivates them, but not necessarily directing it towards specific outcomes in the same way. And not working as a clinician, even though you're oftentimes in these kinds of clinical environments, but not always.
Thank you, Heather. We also have Ferol Carytsas, the director of the U.S. Center for Arts and Medicine and an educator in the arts and health field. Her work focuses on curriculum design, pedagogy, and professionalization, including co-developing U.S. undergraduate certificate in music and medicine and contributing to the National Core Curriculum for Arts and Health Professionals. She is editor-in-chief in the Perspectives of Art in Health Journal, and a former board member of the National Organization for Arts and Health, where she helped develop the field's code of ethics and standards. During her time at the center, Ferol has taught courses in music and health and has received multiple U.S. awards for teaching excellence. Her work is dedicated to preparing the next generation of arts and health professionals. Ferol, will you talk a little bit about the student success in this program?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. So I'm going to kind of copy what has already been said, but one of the aspects that excites me most about the field of arts and health is its interdisciplinary nature. And I think because of that, we see students with a wide range of backgrounds and educational experiences, both in the arts and health sectors. So students might want to dive into arts and health work through practice or research, for example, or maybe they're looking for additional credentials to support a current role, or perhaps they're looking for a career change. Um, when I think about what success looks like in our program, our most successful students are creative with the ability to think a little bit outside of the box, and with an entrepreneurial mindset. Also, it's important, I think, for our students to take time to build relationships with our faculty members, because, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to support our students. So, there are so many different career pathways in arts and health. Broadly, those areas are practice, administration, research, or education, and it's really about finding the piece that resonates the most with you. So our graduate program was designed with the intent of helping students activate arts and health in their home communities. So our goal is really to see our students become our peers and collaborators, advancing research and practice.
Thank you, Ferol. So as we're talking about the student experience, I wanted to bring on an amazing student and an MA candidate, Kate Berk. Catherine has a background in dance and community organizing. She currently works with the Ohio Social Prescribing Collaborative and is an arts and wellness coach with Arts in Motion Wellness. Kate, tell us how you found this program. What were you into then, and why was this program a fit for you?
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for organizing this. I guess I started, like I said, or you said, I came from a ballet background. So I started as a kid doing a lot of research. As a dancer, you're constantly having to figure out which school program, summer intensive, conservatory, would best set you up for the career. It's pretty competitive. So I started researching all of those things as a child after I had my own experience with an arts outreach program that came to my elementary school and kind of hooked me. And so when I was figuring out what my next steps would look like, unfortunately, you can't do ballet for your whole life, but it's okay. There's more exciting things out there. I started researching, what would it look like to delve into this field? And initially, I was interested in social prescribing, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I kept finding people that I was interested in the programming they were doing, and a lot of the roots came back to UF. So in my sleuthing, I realized that a lot of roads kept leading back to this program. So that's how I found out about it.
Awesome. And you do have a lot of interest around arts prescribing. What does that term mean to you, and how does it have to do with the arts and health?
Yeah. So arts prescribing is a subset of a greater movement called social prescribing. And that's where a healthcare practitioner formally refers a patient to a community intervention that's not necessarily clinical in nature, but is still great for their health and well-being. And usually the five tenets are arts, which that's what we're here for, movement. And as a dancer, that made a lot of sense to me. And then service, giving back, finding fulfillment in that way. Also nature. So green spaces like parks, blue spaces like water, and then just some sort of connection or belonging. So that might be joining into a book club or something spiritual, something to give you a sense of connection. So social prescribing is that overarching ideology. And then arts prescribing is the sector that I kind of came to it naturally from my background. And I would say, even though arts prescribing, this is my umbrella, comes underneath the umbrella of social prescribing, there's a lot of Venn diagramming happening with arts and health, because that is a way for people's mental and physical well-being to be enhanced. It's not therapeutic in nature, like you were saying earlier, and a lot of other people touched on, but it is really great for people's health practices. So it's a way to kind of provide that arts and health intervention in a more formalized structure.
Thanks, Kate. And another thing I wanted you to speak of, you and I talked about your experience, and I really like your perspective on building a network through the online platform. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. So I think a lot of us in the program share that we're interested in, connection and community, and then we're also spread out and it's a remote program. So I think sometimes that can be a challenge, but I do think there's a lot of roads that you can take in order to build a sense of community in the program. I just need to shout out the professors, because they've gone above and beyond to help establish a relationship whenever you reach out. And I know they always give you great feedback on your, work, but also provide really thorough discussion comments. They sometimes will provide opportunities for you and your students or peers to be able to have a Zoom relationship too. And in general, I just feel that the more you reach out, the more of a relationship you're going to have. And that has only continued to be reinforced in my experience at UF. Same with Ferol too, the director. So I think I noticed from when I was first considering the program how attentive people were. I reached out and asked if I could get maybe some perspectives on what the program was like. And I spoke with Dr. Jenny Lee, and she was so sweet. She talked to me for a whole Zoom session and said, you know what, I think we need another conversation tomorrow to finish up our thoughts. So we had a second conversation, and she referred me to a lot of alumni. So I think that just kind of snowballed. And I think once you start talking to people who are passionate about it, and I think Professor Carapellotti mentioned, it's so exciting to be surrounded by a bunch of people who are really nerding out about this. And then you keep the conversations going.
So in addition to networking and mentorship in those ways, you also have done some work with the Interdisciplinary Research Lab. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
I'd love to. Yeah. And that was kind of also recommended by some alumni who I'd met. That theme kept emerging that a lot of us would like to have some synchronized time. I'd say it's really convenient as somebody who works many jobs to have an asynchronous online program. And especially because you have, peers who are tuning in from all over the world. But I do think it's really special to be in real time with people, to have some discourse. And the Interdisciplinary Lab is just that. It's 2.5 hours every Friday. We're actually on a little pause right now, but almost every Friday. And you get to work with Dr. Jill Sankey, who is exceptional. And she'll open up the lab every week with all of us involved and kind of lead a unifying question or conversation, so we can all kind of land together, re-regulate and come into this virtual space with intention. And then we move into our breakout rooms. And it's great because I'm working with, Professor Carapellotti in one of the rooms, but you're having field seasoned professionals intermixed with students. And that's also collaborative with Stanford as well. So there's so many smart brains in this Zoom space. And I feel like after every wrap up, we always come back together the last 10 minutes and share out the accomplishments for the day. I just get kind of so high and excited off of excitement for this field and what we're accomplishing in that little Zoom space. So it's a special community.
That's awesome. And the Interdisciplinary Research Lab, that's additional. It's something that's available to you as a student. But it is also something that's competitive. It's something that you go out to be a part of outside of your classes, right?
Yes. So this is not for credit. It's volunteer as a student. And you do need to apply and be accepted for it. And I think it's also contingent upon openings. So I remember I wanted to join right when it started in August, but they didn't have any openings. But yeah, I got to join in January. So.
That's awesome. So reach out early. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for setting this up.
Awesome. Okay. When you're thinking why study with the Center for Arts and Medicine at UF, keep in mind that our program is practice-based and that research informed, and our curriculum balances theory, research, and applied practice, and students implement their projects in their own community. We have flexible online learning, and classes are 100% online and asynchronous. You can study from anywhere and set your own schedule. Our program prepares students to engage with patients and communities, and this includes preparing you for hands-on learning in your own local communities. Students don't just study theory, they put it into action. You gain practical experience working with patients and community members in clinical or public health settings. You have access to national and international research, outreach, and collaboration experiences. Your coursework has real-world impact. There's also mentorship from leaders in the field. Our internationally recognized faculty have decades of experience in clinical, community, and global settings. Our faculty and researchers have also worked alongside the CDC, the World Health Organization, the National Endowment for the Arts, Americans for the Arts, and other health-focused organizations. Our work has also been featured by the New York Times, PBS, NPR, CBS Sunday Morning, and other major news outlets. Our faculty have been recognized by the Associate Provost for having excellent teaching evaluations that reflect dedication to student success, innovative teaching strategy, and unwavering commitment to academic excellence. When it comes to mentoring beyond the curriculum, faculty engage with students in discussion boards, project feedback, and virtual office hours. As far as interdisciplinary training, the program is open to students from all academic and professional backgrounds. The program prepares graduates to work in healthcare, public health, education, research, and the arts. So just a few nuts and bolts, because that's how my brain works, and maybe it works well for you too. Courses are accessed online in Canvas. They're asynchronous, 100% online, and practicing based in your community. There are no regularly scheduled meeting times that you're expected to be online. And your course syllabus will have assignments and due dates. Assignments are often discussion boards, and there are projects that are usually due weekly, but that varies again by class. So when you're looking at the MA in Arts and Medicine, that's a program that takes about 35 credit hours to complete, and you complete it in 2 to 3 years, depending on what your schedule looks like. It includes core courses, electives, practicum, and the final capstone project. And tuition is about $25,000 total, and there are no out-of-state fees, and financial aid is available. And then when it comes to the core courses that you're taking for this program, we're going to loop back to faculty here. Anna, what can students expect to gather in the Foundations course?
Yeah, so the Foundations course is the very first course that both the MA and certificate students take when they enroll in our program. And it really provides a broad overview of the field. So it takes you through the history of the field, primarily focused within the United States, and also the history here at the Center for Arts and Medicine. It covers the sort of ethics and core competencies and sort of scope of practice considerations that one needs to make as an arts and health professional, sort of touching back to what Heather was talking about earlier, really being mindful of distinguishing yourself from an arts therapist in your practice and approach. It also covers health and social science theories that are relevant to arts and health, as well as theories of creativity. There's also a feedback I've gotten quite a lot about the course is students really appreciate that there's also a strong introduction to graduate level writing. So students write a literature review, and they get a lot of feedback on how to sort of reach that level of research and writing that is required at a graduate level. In addition to that, there's opportunity to sort of develop creative practice skills and sort of deepen your understanding of arts and health through your own practice. And that can be done through, a variety of different modalities. So if you're a visual artist, you can work with visual arts. If you're a dance, you can explore these whatever the prompt is through dance. So it's really open-ended in that way. And then lastly, being the first course in the program, we really try to, kind of like Kate was saying, this is a field that really thrives on connection and community. So creating opportunities within the online environment for getting to know your peers, networking, and just connecting with each other through the shared experience.
Thank you. Heather, what did students learn about in the practice course?
Yeah, so the practice course begins to build on some of those foundations that we were just talking about from the beginning of the program and really translate them into the type of work that you'll be doing when you enter into these healthcare and community settings. And so that may be things like understanding confidentiality and infection control. It could be how to facilitate virtual sessions or how to ethically interact in different spaces, working across disciplines, things like working with people who've experienced trauma or who've been through difficult circumstances, and what are some of the considerations you may need when you're entering into those spaces. But those 8 weeks are really grounded, one, primarily in getting those real practical skills before going out and entering into practicum, and then also includes some components of needs assessment. So really learning about the population you'll be working with and the needs that population has and how the arts can connect to that.
Awesome. And then when we're talking about the practicum, how does that course differ from practice?
Sure, I can start with that, and then Anna will be teaching it this term. She might want to hop in afterwards in a moment, but I will say, again, part of what we're doing is really helping students prepare to enter into that. Their practicum will be the space where they're really going out into these healthcare and community settings and doing some of that work. And so they do have to submit a proposal first that's reviewed by a committee in our practice course. And then some students will choose to go out and work with existing or established programs if they have that opportunity. They really want to learn what it is that's been like the success behind those programs that have been able to establish themselves. Other students really use the practicum as an opportunity to maybe start to explore something new for themselves. It might be a way to make relationships in their local community or to experiment with a new program that students at times are able to later on either use for subsequent work, like a capstone for their program and research, or things like job opportunities post-graduation.
Awesome. And then what are some topics that come up in professional seminar?
Yeah, so professional seminar is after they've gone through kind of all of those initial stages, a way to wrap up what skills they may need to go out and do this work. A lot of that ends up being really focused on arts administration type skills. So it might be things like if somebody wants to work on learning how to do funding applications, maybe they want to hone their leadership skills or work on policies and procedures for a team of artists if they're running a program. There's a lot of flexibility in how they apply that. And some people also will take more of a personal kind of approach, looking at what are the skills they personally need to hone for their work or things like self-care.
Mm-hmm. So those are kind of our first foundation courses, and we'll loop back around this later. But if you're doing the graduate certificate, it kind of starts with that. That's your graduate certificate there in a nutshell. And then to do the MA, we continue on with these additional core courses. Anna, what's the benefit of a deep dive course in research and evaluation?
Yeah, so in research and evaluation, we first actually learned to distinguish between research and evaluation. So the difference between producing sort of broader, generalizable knowledge versus studying the impact of a particular arts and health program. We study, we do an overview of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods approaches, all of which are currently, being used in the arts and health sphere, and really with a emphasis on centering participant experience, because this is, the core of arts and health practice. And then we also talk about bringing how we can bring arts into the research itself through using arts-based methods, and then also looking at sort of that bridge between theory to practice to research to policy.
Awesome. Thank you. So then our students do their capstone, which kind of brings everything together, and they kind of end with this professional seminar. What topics come up in the advanced professional seminar?
Yeah. I have to get my video back on. Apologies. It advanced the professional seminar is really an opportunity to advance some of those skills that were started in the professional seminar. So to delve deeper into those different areas, especially as people are starting to think about their upcoming capstone projects, students will also oftentimes identify something that they feel they need to delve deeper, a skill set they need to further hone. And some of them will also start to use that to begin working on things like IRB processes. So if they are going to be doing large scale projects that require an IRB, that can be very time intensive. I know for the project that I'm currently doing, which is bigger because it's multi-site than what some of our students will do, but we've been trying to work with IRB for months to get approval. It can take quite some time. And so the Advanced Professional Seminar will be an opportunity to really hone in, whereas the professional seminar was a bit broad and an introduction to a variety of those skills. It's really a way to hone in on the skills that you feel you're going to need the most, not just for your capstone, but also for your professional career.
Thank you. So then those are our core courses for the master's program, but then we have electives as well. So to round out your program, you choose 4 electives, and some of our electives include, arts and compassion, arts in the military, arts, public health, and community impact. And we also have options for things like independent study and beyond. Anna, can you give us a little review of arts and compassion?
Yeah, so I really love this course. Yeah, it covers sort of the evidence of the importance of compassion in healthcare settings and for quality of life. So there's a fair, growing body of, scientific evidence showing the impact that compassion and care can have. And then it also looks more broadly at the role that arts can play in sort of evoking and depicting compassion. We also, talk a lot about listening, observation, and mindfulness skills, which are definitely applicable within an arts and health practice, and then how compassion can be like cultivated or even learned through the arts.
Awesome. And then how about arts in the military? Can you tell us a little bit about that course?
I actually have never taught that course. We have a different instructor for it. However, working with veterans in the military, I am happy to kind of give some ideas of some of those skill sets that may be involved with it. Certainly, working with military is a somewhat distinct culture. I think in many ways, some of it is it's a very black and white kind of thinking, right? And the arts are not in any way black and white. There's lots of shades of gray. And so I think for that reason, the arts can be really valuable for people who've left the military. Oftentimes, people get really inspired and have kind of renewed sense of purpose. That's one of the things that can be really hard about transitioning from military to veteran life. And obviously, military service members come from all types of backgrounds. Some have seen combat, some have not, but many of those who have experienced combat will have trauma, may have brain injury. And there's a lot of evidence that not just the creative arts therapies, but also arts engagement can really have a lot of positive benefits for that. And so for artists working with the military, there are many, many programs doing this. There's a lot of funding for artists working in the military. And I love the fact that we do offer an elective specifically for that.
Awesome. So that's kind of an overview of the courses in the program to share with you. If you're thinking about what might my schedule look like, here's kind of an example. Here's just a sample schedule. So you have something like your first year, you might take 2 of your core courses and an elective in the fall, and spring you do your practicum. And you're really going to want to prepare for your practicum and keep those really practical thoughts going in your mind as you're doing your early studies, and maybe do an elective then. And your one fall, you could do your professional seminar and your research class, and then go on to your spring semester, or excuse me, go into your second year where you would do the fall, maybe your capstone proposal, a professional seminar and an elective, and then do your capstone and elective to kind of wrap up the program. And that's in a nutshell. We are based on a cohort model. So your classes are offered in a manner to make sure that this is a possibility to do in this path. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the graduate certificate is also something that we offer in our program. So a graduate certificate is 12 credit hours. You can complete that in 10 months or 3 semesters. It includes core courses and practicum as part of that too. The tuition is about $8,000. There's no out-of-state fees, and financial aid and scholarships are available. We kind of think about this as an accelerated option for earning a professional credential. Also, it goes really well at complementing if you're thinking about another master's program that fits you in your interest well. This can really be supportive in that as well. And when we're looking at that, again, that's your core courses with the foundations, the practice, the practicum, and then the professional seminar. We also offer a graduate certificate. So when you're thinking about your graduate certificate, the core courses do slide right into the MA. If you decide, you know what, I did the graduate certificate, that was a good fit for my interest, and I want to really go ahead and finish the master's, those courses all fit in really well, and you would just finish the other 4 core courses and the electives, and you would be ready to go. So if you're on the fence, you can go ahead and keep that in mind. And then again, when you're thinking about what those 3 semesters might look like, if you're looking at the graduate certificate, this is just an example of how that would maybe play out with your fall, spring, and summer courses together to get that certificate. We also have a combination degree program, which is a way to get a Bachelor and Master of Arts at the same time. So like a 4+1. So in 5 years, you're taking up to 12 of your credits are part of your bachelor's. So when you graduate, you've got a bachelor's and a master's. This works currently with programs out of pre-health, music, biology, chemistry, microbiology, cell science, and psychology. And, if you have a program as an undergraduate and you hear some of them might be here today that aren't in one of those programs, and if you want to talk about your options, please reach out to me and we can talk about that more directly as well. You would want to figure this out by your senior year to make it work. And it's a way to save time and tuition by completing your master's and bachelor's all at once. So whichever way you're thinking about joining the Center for Arts and Medicine, keep in mind that there's no GRE needed. You would submit a personal statement, letters of recommendation, a CV, a resume, official transcript, writing samples, and a portfolio. And then Natalie, if you'll help me out by pulling up that poll earlier, we'll look at who we had. Let's look at the results. So it looks like in this group, we have about 30% of folks that are identifying themselves as coming from an education standpoint. We have about 15% of you guys who think of yourself as community nonprofit government. Our arts and culture folks are making up about 19%, and healthcare public health folks are about 30% of who's with us today. And then looking at research and evaluation, that's about 7%. So when you're thinking about the background of your peers in the program, it's kind of nice to think about the interdisciplinary opportunity there. And like even in a discussion today, we have a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different info. Thank you, Natalie. When you're thinking about career pathways in arts and health, graduates can pursue various interdisciplinary career paths to blend creativity and healthcare. A healthcare practitioner facilitates music, visual arts, dance, and theater activities in hospitals, hospices, and healthcare settings to support patient and staff well-being. Researchers and evaluators evaluate the impact of arts in health interventions, often affiliated with academic or healthcare institutions. An educator teaches arts and health practices in academic settings from K-12 through higher education, and also trains professionals in healthcare settings and arts-based organizations. A program administrator or manager oversees planning, funding, and operations of arts and health programs in hospitals, nonprofits, or public agencies. A community arts facilitator leads arts programs in community settings to improve public health, reduce isolation, and promote social cohesion and resilience. Arts and public health specialists design and implement arts-based public health initiatives to address health equity, prevention, and social determinants of health. A policy developer promotes funding and integration of arts and health at local, state, and national levels through advocacy and policy work. And a museum specialist oversees arts programming in museums and other spaces. When you're thinking about what role is right for you, the sky's the limit, and there's all kinds of ways to apply the work that we're doing in this program. If you're thinking about the program and you want to get a little bit of more of an introduction to the field, we have a course called Creating for the Health of It. It is just a professional development course. It's something that we offer to the center that can help you kind of understand arts and health practice in healthcare settings and in community settings. And it talks about professionalism in the field. It talks a little bit about how research works and about the APA format. And it takes about 20 hours to complete. And if you're interested in doing that, we are offering the opportunities Tuesday to use this code for CAM 200 to take the course at a discounted rate to kind of see how you adapt to that learning style of doing online courses and what you think. It's not reflective of what your courses would be like, but it does give you a little taste for the field and an insight of the field and what it might be like to study online if that can be you. I would share that with you, and we'll share that link in the chat so you can check that out as well. And we're also going to share some opportunities to check out our social media as a way to see what's going on in the field of arts and kind of what kind of activity we have there. And we thank you for listening today. Now, what questions do you have? I know we went through a lot of information.
There's about 3 questions in the chat that might be good for Ferol to answer, maybe perhaps more so than some of the rest of us.
Awesome.
Hello. So the first question I see in the chat is, you mentioned that financial aid is available. Are there scholarships specifically for CAM students? The answer is yes. We have 2 small scholarship opportunities for our students, and the way to go about applying for them is to let Michelle know in the application process and submit a separate application at that time. The next question I see is, how does the combination 4+1 degree work if I'm an undergrad psych major? I wonder, Michelle, you had a beautiful slide about combination degrees. And if we could go back to that, I think that would answer the question. And Michelle, do you want to add anything additional about combinations? So what we'll say that is, Michelle said, typically you would start in your junior, senior year, and up to 12 credits of your bachelor's degree would count towards your master's. So again, for more information, I would encourage you to reach out to Michelle and get more specifics about your specific situation.
Yeah, we can talk through that in great detail. I'm happy to work through that with you, but it just starts with us having a conversation and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Michelle. Then the next question is, do I have to finish my bachelor's degree before starting the master's program, or can I complete both classes at the same time? And the answer to that question is, it depends if your major is one of the majors that qualifies for a combination degree. So if it is not, then you have to complete your bachelor's before you can start your master's. But if it is, I think you're a great candidate for the combination degree. Right.
So if you already have an MPH, you're pursuing the certificate program to supplement your education experience, the most appropriate versus the full MA. Ferol, do you want to touch on that, or you want me to give it a go first?
Give it a go.
I'll give it a go. Ferol is a real expert. I'm very new here. So thank you guys for bearing with me today. I would say that I'm learning as we go a little bit too. But when we're talking about that kind of depends on you and your interests. Again, the graduate certificate, I think is amazing because it does give you the foundational skills, and it gives you some real credentials to go along with what you're doing, especially with you having an MPH in your scenario. but it also feeds really well if you start the program and you're like, you know what, I can't miss out on these electives and I want to get deeper into the research aspect of things. It really gets you set up to go right into the MA. So if you're on the fence, you could do both. But are, if you're ready to dive in, I'm happy to talk to you about whichever option is best for you. The graduate certificate is also cohort based. So someone's asking about that. So you can change the pace. So if you were to say, you know, I want to do the program and I cannot do it all right now, it is possible, but we don't necessarily have things in, it's really laid out for that cohort model. So if you want to do it in a year, the cohort model and sticking kind of to the schedule is the way to do it. If you need more flexibility, it is possible to find ways to be flexible in how to lay out your time. And then we can talk about the specifics of your situation if you'd like. You can just reach out to me as well. And then the cost for the MA program is about $25,000 and the graduate certificate is about $8,000. Do you have any other questions with us today?
I think there was a question that went to the panelists specifically about placing the students into different places. Oh, did you want to speak about that, Heather?
I was gonna say, I just tried to answer it in chat, but I realized I sent it to the panelists instead of to everyone. So I'll put it in chat, but I'll also come on 1 second. So the question was about placements, and I believe that might be in relation to practicum in particular. And we have students come from all over the country. We have students who are international. So we may not always know of what's in a specific area. Certainly, if our faculty does have a connection or know of a program, we'll gladly mention that to you. Oftentimes, we're kind of talking to ideas, types of places, strategies for reaching out, and the students are expected to go out and try and look for what practicum sites they can find in their local area. But faculty is certainly available to talk that through, to help troubleshoot ideas. That's usually the thing that I get students on my office hours for the most in the practice course. We're available by office hours a couple of times a week and welcome having students hop onto office hours and talk through things with us. And that is one of the times where I find a lot of students will want to come and get some extra support for sure as they're looking in their areas.
And I would say from my role, and if you're just kind of thinking of it and you want to talk through what you're thinking with that, we can set you up with if you're coming to the program, you're like, I have some ideas, but I don't know if that's the right fit. We can talk through those ideas, and our faculty are really excited to hear what you are. I mean, we were thinking when you come into the program, you're not coming in as just a student. You're coming in as a student that they want to be a peer, that our faculty want to work with and collaborate with, and they're so excited about you and your interests. So I would say if you're not sure about the practicum and the practicum placement, let's have some early conversations. And then what else we have in the chat? We have a question about the significant. We have a question about the portfolios. What do we submit with the portfolios? Who wants to talk about that from our faculty director side?
I guess I'm the only one on screen still, so I'll go ahead. I also do. I actually love the portfolios in the admissions packet because they are so diverse. So a portfolio may be something that shows your artistic competency. We get beautiful artwork and dance videos and music performances. Sometimes the portfolios are more kind of research or practice based. So I've seen things like program flyers from projects that people have done. If somebody does have any research experience, they might share articles. It's really a snapshot of what type of professional work that you've done. And it's a really exciting and kind of practical hands-on way for us to see that on the admissions committee. Because again, essays and things only give kind of one aspect of a person, but as a really arts-based program in practice, that portfolio is an opportunity to see it.
And then I'm going to speak to, we had a question earlier about UF Shan. So UF Health Shan Hospital has arts in medicine, and we are the UF Center for Arts and Medicine, and that can be crazy confusing. And what I would offer to you as an explanation to that, I see that someone's asked about that in particular, is that the arts and medicine at Shands is the practice. Those are the musicians playing in the hospital. Those are the people that are facilitating the arts programming with patients. So that and doing things with staff to keep the arts there. But we're really the academic side. The Center for Arts in Medicine is the learning, right? So we're doing the education around it, and we're doing the research, and we're preparing students to go out to be practitioners like those that are at the UF Shands Arts in Medicine. And then what else do we have on there? So I like this question. Do we have to have a significant practice with the arts for acceptance to the program? And I see, maybe Heather, you want to chat on that one?
Yeah, I was actually just typing on that one. It stuck out to me as well. We have people come in with a big variety of backgrounds. And so some people will have a strong artistic background, others won't. And that is actually completely okay. I think everybody will be expected to facilitate arts engagements in some way. But for a lot of people, that might be very simple arts engagements. It might be more craft based. They might do it in collaboration with somebody at their site. So as long as you are willing to engage in the arts, then there's a space for that, even if you don't have a strong kind of portfolio or formal arts background. And sometimes I think that can really give you empathy for what the experience is like for the people we work with who may not have that strong arts background either. And it's really about kind of that experimentation piece.
Thank you, Heather. And I see another question about job prospects when completing the MA in Arts and Health. And I know Ferol is working on that a little bit, very direct question to answer that. I would say we talked a little bit about the different ways around education, or Ferol, you want to speak to it maybe?
Sure, I can hop on. So there's four broad areas that we think of when we think about job prospects, and that's education, research, practice, and administration. And so it really kind of depends where you land and what those job prospects look like. But I think I will say I mentioned it earlier, there's a little bit of an entrepreneurial mindset that is required. But again, there are so many opportunities, especially with the advancement of the of social prescribing or arts prescribing. I think we're just going to continue to see more and more opportunities arise. But what I would say is reach out to us and we can have a specific, specialized conversation about your interest and answer that question more fully, so that it really relates to what your background is as opposed to being a little bit of a more broad answer.
Thank you. You guys have any other questions while we're here today? So I hear the certificate and MA programs to be done 100% remotely. Are there opportunities to meet in person with fellow students? So, and you mentioned, for example, arts and medicine conferences. So what's really nice about our program is that being 100% remote, you can choose. Oh, okay. I think I see someone that's Ferol might come on with this one too. But you have the opportunity. Yeah, there you go.
Want me to answer?
So yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. So yes, we are in the process. There are opportunities to meet up with fellow students, and we're in the process of really trying to be more intentional and thorough about that. Michelle and I are working on plans, and there's more to come on that. And absolutely, there are various arts and health conferences throughout the year. The one that's probably the most well known is through the National Organization for Arts and Health, otherwise known as NOAA, or also known as NOAA. But you'll find I'm seeing a lot of specialized tracks at other types of conferences that are focused in arts and health. So it doesn't have to be specifically arts and health. You could have a completely different conference with an arts and health track. But yes, there are opportunities to meet with fellow students. And that's part of the importance of, as an online asynchronous program, getting to know your colleagues and creating those communities and networks and setting up opportunities to meet.
I would share along with that one of the things that I've been really excited about at the center is how excited our alumni are to be involved too. So when you're thinking about what is your network beyond the program and how do you interact, Our alumni are so excited to be involved with you as a student, to help guide you in your path and to help be, again, they want to be a peer with you. They want to collaborate with you. They want to see you succeed as part of the program too. So I would say keep that in mind too, alumni.
And I think Natalie just tapped me for that too. I think again, all of the alumni have been so kind and with their time. And I think what Ferol was saying as far as meeting people at different conferences, if you are interested in looking at the NOAA conference, the National Organization of Arts and Health, or the Creating Healthy Communities conference, I know there's a student discount, which is really nice. And UF kind of opens doors for being able to get in as a student into a lot of these spaces where there's high level professionals. And that's a great way to meet people in person. And I was also able to come do the Arts and Health intensive at UF. So that was also a great way to meet professors and other peers as well.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up our time for today. Please feel free to reach out to me. My information will be in the chat. If you have any questions or concerns, or if you're ready to go ahead and apply, or if you have something we need to talk about before you're ready to apply, I'm excited to see, is it the right fit for you, and what can we do to help you get there? So again, my information's in the chat, along with our social media stuff. We have some exciting things going on. Feel free to reach out, and thank you for taking the time to join us today.